Hello, I'm Duncan Wells, and this is Stress-Free Motorboating. Coiling and finishing off a rope. There's nothing worse than pulling a tangled mess of rope out of a locker, so the first thing we need to do is to make sure we can coil it nicely. There are a number of ways of coiling rope, but we will look at two, the sailor's way and the climber's way. There are also several ways of finishing off the coil, and we'll look at three, one of which I call the navy way, one is the sailor's way, and one the gasket coil hitch. Let's take a standard 3-strand line, a mooring warp. First, we'll flake the rope so there are no knots and twists to it. This is what a Breton sailor friend of mine calls making an intelligent pile, where we put down first that which we require last. Flaking, in other words. Now, we start with the eye splice in hand. This is the standing end. The other end of the rope is the running end. And we're going to coil this the sailor's way in a clockwise direction. So we'll make the loops just a little bit longer than the eye splice, our standing end, and add a little twist with the coil of the rope as we go. And it'll form nice even loops. We do this until we have a few feet remaining, then I transfer the coils to my other hand and we make the wraps. We'll take a few wraps around there. Now to finish off, the simplest, probably, is the navy way, where we will take the running end straight through between the top of the wraps and the top of the coils. Now that can be hung up. I call it the navy way because that's what a lifeboatman told me it was called. I've never been in the navy, so I don't really know. I'm sure the navy will tell me if I have it wrong. We could also finish off by taking a bite, a loop, through the top of the coils and passing the running end through this. This is what I call the sailor's way. Nice and neat. And again, we can hang this up. The third finish is the gasket coil hitch. We'll take a bite of the line through the loop and then bring this down over the coils. This traps the free end, the running end. The advantage of this is that if you lay this in a locker, it won't come undone, but it does look a bit skew-whiff when you hang it up. And there are the three finishes. From left to right, gasket coil hitch, sailor's way, navy way. A very popular rope these days for mooring warps is the stretch weave polyester braid. It looks lovely on the dock and does a good job as a bowline, sternline and springs, but I find it's not easy to work with or to coil. It's too slippery and floppy. So trying to make nice seaman-like coils out of it with a nice finish is not easy, but here we go. Of course, we're going to flake the rope to make sure that there are no kinks and twists, and we will start with the eye splice. That will always be on the inside of our coil. That's our standing end. Now we'll coil into this. This being a braid, it will tend to try and form a figure of 8, but at the moment it's been quite well behaved. Oh yes, you can see it sort of trying to make it. But as I say, it's very floppy and not easy to work with. Long rope, right, there we go, that's our running end. Transfer it to my other hand, make some wraps around. It's also quite a slippery rope too. So we'll make these wraps and then we will finish off the sailor's way by taking a bite through above the wraps and then taking the running end through this, and it's the running end that we can then clove hitch to a rail or whatever. Or we can finish off the navy way. Or indeed we could go for the gasket coil hitch by taking a bite of the rope down over the coils and tightening on the running end. I've just finished flaking this rope ready to coil, and if I coil it the sailor's way in loops, like so, I find that if I try to throw it to anyone, it's apt to tangle, and so I'm going to coil it the climber's way. I start with my standing end and the line across my hand and take a loop on one side and then a loop on the other side, making sure that the loops are even. I call this into the hand, out of the hand. Into the hand, out of the hand. And as we do this, we see that we've built up distinct coils on either side of the hand. It's a long rope, this one. This really then becomes one long series of coils, like that. Then we make sure the coils are even, and we can adjust them by twisting a bit. Then it's into my other hand for the finish. And we can do this a number of ways. First of all, we'll put our wraps around, a few wraps around the top of the rope. Keep it tidy. And then we'll go for a finish. We'll use the sailor's way. Bite through and then the running in through that. Just to remind ourselves, we could also have it the navy way, where we just take the running in through, or we could take a bite through and then over the top of the coils, bring it down, tighten it by pulling on the running end, get it down over those coils, tighten it by pulling on the running end, and there's our gasket coil hitch. And that's a couple of ways to coil a rope and a few finishes.